Warning, this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside podcast. I am your host, John Venom. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. You can also find us on YouTube and on our website, thedemoninside.transistor.fm. And please don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week. Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Venom, and today we are going to be talking about the Demon Inside, Kendrex White. Now, before I do that, I'm going to send out a couple of shout-outs. I'm going to send the first one out to Miguel, who is a sales manager here at Nissan, where I work at in San Antonio. And the second one is to my friend, Charlene, who actually lives in the Philippines, and she's been listening for some time, and I keep forgetting to send her out a shout-out. So this is your shout-out, and let's get back to the case.
1 student dead, 3 other students seriously hurt. New information about today's deadly stabbing attack on the UT Austin campus from classmates of the accused attacker.
If I had been there like I was planning to, maybe I could have reasoned with him.
So much has developed in just the last 30 minutes. What was initially shock is now giving way to grief. And students have reached out to us with new details about the stabbing suspect, Kendrex White, a biology major at UT. Our team coverage begins with KXAN's Alyssa Gord. Alyssa, you spoke with a student who shared a biology class with White.
Shannon, Josh Anderson said that it wasn't until the photos of the suspect came out on social media that he realized it was actually someone who he'd sat next to in class and known the whole semester. Now, Josh Anderson also said that Kendrex White was on a pre-health track, which he says can be stressful. And when Kendrex told him last week that he had a lot going on outside of class, taking his mind off of academics, Anderson said he didn't think too much of it. But now he wonders if there could have been a connection. Anderson says that all semester, White has been nice and hardworking. It doesn't make sense that the guy he talked to in biology could be behind this kind of attack.
He's amiable, like completely friendly, not the quiet kid in the back of the class, not the person stereotyped to do this kind of thing, not at all. He is very nice. He doesn't have any kind of disdain toward anybody, like any kind of Greek life or anything. No, he's just nice to everybody, and it seemed completely out of the blue.
And another thing that Josh Anderson said to me about the photos that he saw of Kendrex White being arrested, the bandana that Kendrex was wearing there, Josh said that the bandana was something that he wore regularly, but the knife that was on Kendrex's side, Josh said he'd never seen that before. Reporting live from the UT campus, Shannon, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Alyssa, thank you. Here's what else we know about White. His Facebook account shows he graduated from Killeen High School in 2014. Travis County records show he was arrested and charged with DWI on April 4th of this year. The arrest affidavit says White crashed at the corner of Whitus and Dean Keaton. When an officer spoke to White, he said he took 2 happy pills, which were listed as Zoloft.
Now, bear with me for a minute. This news footage was taken 30 minutes after the incident happened, and they're talking to a friend of Kendrex. And Kendrex, of course, is a nice guy. This guy was saying that there's no way possible he could have done this. What caught me was this. He said that if he would have been there, maybe he would have tried to reason with him or try to talk to him. Kendrex is not a violent, mean, horrible, criminal person. If this guy thought that he could talk to him, then obviously this is somebody that was a nice guy. Because, I mean, you get people that say, oh, he was always acting weird, I would never approach him. He was a scary guy, but not Kendrex. Kendrex was an approachable, nice guy, and his friend, or the person that knows him, said I would have reasoned with him, and he thinks that would have been enough. Now let me talk to you about this too before I continue. I did a lot of research on this, and I go through all kinds of news feeds and videos and all kinds of things. I try to find Facebook comments and just everything and anything I can find, I will try to find. And there's a lot of comments about why was he walking around with a knife, and, you know, he shouldn't have been carrying it. Here's the thing about Texas, and this isn't about Kendrex. This is more about the state of Texas, guys. I've lived here my whole life, almost, and in the state of Texas, everybody carries a knife. My sons, both of them carry knives. My daughters carry knives. Even at universities, people carry knives. They're open gun carry. You can walk around into a convenience store with a gun on your hip. So it's not uncommon for somebody to have a knife on the university's campus. So with that being said, let me continue on. Let me go ahead and give you his history before we go too far. So, as she said on the interview, or in the news footage, he graduated from Killeen, Texas, which is in 2014, and his parents were both in the military. He was raised good. This is a family that is very spiritual, very religious, very close, loving family. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a audio that was an interview on TV from Jennifer Bauer, who is a reporter for KPRC2 News in Houston. And she is probably the only one that got an interview with him. And I'm going to be playing that interview throughout this episode because this is coming straight from Kendrex. And this happened on May 9th that she did the interview. And remember, the incident happened May 1st of 2017. So we're talking about 8 days later. And some people are saying that he did this interview so that he could plead insanity. But it's not the way I look at it. It's, for me, this guy is going to give you what he saw during the stabbings. And I believe it. But before we do that, I'm going to play a little bit of his background that he talks about. So the next voice you're going to hear, it's going to be Kendrex. And take a listen to this.
I grew up in Killeen, Texas for a majority of my life, but because of being in the military, I moved from Killeen to Hawaii to Virginia, a little California to meet some family over in the West, and then I moved back to Killeen, and I stayed there until I moved to Austin. When I lived in Killeen growing up, it was pretty, I was overweight growing up, and it made me, I was made fun of a lot, and it just kind of was something that I deal with. I mean, people just had their opinions about people, and I was just one of the negative opinion. And I eventually was able to look past it and play football, met some good people, met some good friends. I was never really that depressed, but I was still depressed. And it was something that I kind of worked through. And eventually, I got counseling, and then I was assaulted in my mall. It was weird because it happened, and I was like looking around. No one would help me. It was. I felt like weird, and I didn't really know what to do in the moment, just because like it was 3 people against me. One of them was like twice my size and about 5 inches taller. The other one was like their ringleader. He He was a white dude. He was about 5'6", and it was just, that incident pushed me back a lot. Like, I had to get counseling, see a therapist about everything, and I felt unsafe for a while, and then eventually stopped playing football, and then in college I lost a lot of weight because of a bariatric surgery, and then my parents, they were always really great benefactors in my life. They always keep pushing me up. I didn't think that they were ever really making fun of me or any sort. They were always pushing me, like, and do well in school. I did pretty well in high school, did pretty well in elementary school and middle school. It was, honestly, to say the least, it was pretty easy in certain states, just because, like, Virginia was a little ahead, which was great, because in Georgia, I didn't say Georgia. Georgia was awful for me. It was probably one of the most troublesome experiences. I saw a dead body, saw a prostitute, I saw it all. Like, it was pretty gruesome, and then it was in the ghetto, you could say. But I mean, it was just what it was. And eventually it passed. I had a racist teacher that kind of was like, okay, all the Hispanics stand up, all the whites stand up, all the blacks stand up. It was just really weird. That's how they took the roll call, which was, I don't even really know why they did that. But that was just 1 year of my life, and I just kind of passed it. And from Georgia, I went to Texas. And then, yeah, my parents were great. My dad was always deployed because of the military, and it kind of made things a little bit angsty for me, because I didn't really grow up with a father figure that much, but I always knew he loved me. I always knew he was there. And my mom, she was always the one that was taking care of me, and she was probably the most influential person I could ever experience in my life. She showed me everything. She started both praying with me. That's really the only thing that gets me through this is prayer.
So now we're going to get to the specifics of what happened that day. And I found a lot of articles. I couldn't get the actual police report, but more or less what ended up happening was they caught him on video camera on campus where he looked normal. He was walking around, and he walked across the street to another building on campus, and he saw a student who he approached and stabbed once, and that student hit the ground, and that's the student that passed away. But Kendrex kept walking, and he stabbed 3 more people. Now, he wasn't trying to pick anyone I mean, this was totally random. It wasn't like he was stalking anybody. He wasn't running. He didn't seem to be bothered by anything. He didn't. If I stabbed somebody, I would be freaking out. I would try to get away. I would run away. I would do whatever it took to not go to jail or to get caught. But Kendrex was just walking as if nothing. And you're going to hear on the recording exactly what he saw and how he felt. And then we'll talk about that as soon as that is completed. So take a listen to what from his perspective, happened.
Okay, well, from my perspective, I went to campus. I missed class that day. At the beginning of the day, I listened to a little 432 hertz music. Want me to keep going? And then grabbed a little bit of the Bible. And then I was texting a few of my friends, and it felt a little off, especially one of my friends, Isaac Wendesson. And it just felt a little weird, like he felt like he had a little malicious intent with me. And he wouldn't tell me where we were studying. He ignored me for like 2 weeks, and I was just feeling a little froggy with meeting him. Basically, went on campus, and I walked around a little bit. I went to the Union building, and I went through campus, looking for him. He wasn't there. And then I went through the whole building, and not the whole building like on top or anything, just went through it, and then went through the main hall of the building, and I walked around for a little bit, just kind of enjoying the ambiance. It was weird because no one would like notice me, like no one someone saw me, or I should say, like I would like wait, like look at people and smile, and no one would like even acknowledge me. I thought that was something weird about the human experience. I feel like if you see someone, you kind of like look at them, and I was like, okay. I've been feeling like that for like a week, and then I had my knife, and I was feeling a little like I said, froggy, because I know a lot of my friends carry guns and then open carry on campus. I was just feeling like I should be a little bit more protected, because it seemed like I was either a threat or no one could see me. And then I was going through a campus, and I actually ran into someone, and I asked him, like, if it's like I bumped into him, I just said something about Jesus, and then he looked at me and he said, "What the hell?" And I was like looking around. I stood there, and he didn't even acknowledge my presence. He just, I guess he felt like, from his perspective, he just fell down. He didn't even look at me, and I was like, okay. And then I just kept going, and then I went on campus some more around the Gregory Gym, and then I ran into someone. He said, "What the heck?" And I just kept going. I pulled out my knife because I was like, my heart started beating really fast, and no one moved. And then I like struck a table, and then no one acknowledged that I did that, and it kept going on with the conversation, and then everything, like, I guess, froze, and I kept going, and then everyone ran away, and I thought maybe it was because of me. And I was like, maybe I did do something, and I had like a gap in my perspective, because I do have apparently epilepsy. And then I kept going to the gesture. I put the knife down, and then I was arrested.
So now we get into his responses after he was arrested, and this is to the police officers that were there on scene. And he agreed, after his rights were acknowledged, to answer questions. And he thought that the accusations were pushing someone down, and he thinks he used a bladed weapon, but he wasn't sure. Now, here's the thing. He says in the interview that he was hearing voices, but he didn't get too elaborate on that. But he did say this to the officer that arrested him, and after they read him his rights, he said that he was hearing voices, and the voices told him to say this, and I quote, "Tell the truth and withhold any action because it really didn't happen," end quote. So the voices told him that he didn't do anything wrong. And that's why he didn't fight the police, he didn't try to run, he didn't try to do anything. So now, where did the voices come from? Now, he says that they had started a couple of weeks earlier. So now we're going to go back, because I know on the news feed, you guys heard that he had gotten a DUI, and they took him for a mental evaluation because Michael was claiming to be Jesus Christ. So what I think this is the start, or maybe it had already started, was his mental disability, his schizophrenia that might be acting up. But these demons used that to their advantage. I believe that him having an accident a month earlier could have either hit his head, maybe it had an effect on him, because there's been cases where someone has head trauma and their whole personality changes. Now, with that being said, that could be a possibility for his mental state. Here's what bothers me is when he first starts talking, he says that he was listening to music, which is the 432 hertz frequency. Now, if those of you have never heard of this, what it is it's music that is supposed to provide spiritual and body healing. For me, this could be the entry that this demon needed to get into him. Now, a lot of you are going to have a hard time with this. I'm having a hard time with this, but On the last episode with Michael Yagagu, we talked about how a spiritual religious book that is meant for self-healing and for self-improvement was actually brought by a culture that practiced sacrifices to a deity. Now with this music, and we've talked about this before, where your mind opens to the possibility of maybe out-of-body experiences, or possibly it allows something in, at least for that time. Now, like I said, I've already established, or I've already told you that I don't think he was 100% possessed, but I do believe that something got in him which clouded his eyes, his ears, his mouth, whatever, so that he couldn't see or hear what he was doing. He remembers walking around. He remembers the guy falling down, but he doesn't remember the stabbing. Could this be a demon that is closing his eyes and showing Kendrex something other than what he's doing? And then at the end of it, these voices or demon in his head is telling him, give yourself up. You didn't do anything wrong. You're fine. I believe this demon took over and stabbed these kids. Now, again, like I tell you all the time, we are responsible for what we do. This kid, Kendrex, also believes that. He doesn't believe that he stabbed anybody because in his eyes, in his mind, he didn't do it. And people are complaining that he doesn't sound too sorry about it. But think about this. If somebody accused you of a crime that you didn't commit, how would you sound? He's confused because they're telling him and probably showed him videos of him doing it. And to him, this is craziness because he didn't see any of that. All he saw was what the demon showed him. So that's why when he's talking, sometimes he sounds like he's giggling or laughing, or not laughing, but just kind of nervousness. Because he is saying, maybe I did do this. I don't know. Now, on the interview, he also talks about if he did do this, then he should pay the price. He says that they're talking about a death penalty sentence. They're talking about life imprisonment. And he says that if that's what he deserves, then that's what he deserves. He's not coming on the interview saying, I want to take an insanity plea. He does mention that he does have mental disability. He says that he has epilepsy, and he doesn't deny any of this. Now, as far as the accident that happened, which I was going to talk to you about a month earlier, he had a car accident, and he supposedly took 2 happy pills, which were Xanax. He admits that he took them. Actually, he took different pills, one for his epilepsy, one for the Xanax, and he smoked weed, recreational. He was very truthful about that. He didn't try to hide it. And he had the car accident. Now, his family came down to support him, and because he said to the officer at that time that he was Jesus Christ, they had to evaluate him. They ended up keeping him for about a week, and then they released him. When this happened, I don't know if he was on Xanax. I don't know if he was on his pills. I don't know what he was doing. But for me, none of that would have mattered because this demon was already talking in his ear. This was an infestation. And this was a very good infestation because this demon allowed him to see what it wanted him to see. And could he have gotten in through the spiritual music that was supposed to be for health and body awareness and whatever? Yeah, it could have. We don't know a lot about demons. We don't know what they can and can't do. We only know what they can and can't do either through gospel or what the movies show. You got to remember, guys, these things have been around way longer than humanity. They know all the tricks, they know all the lies, and they know everything about us. Because remember, he was feeling alone, like he was invisible to everybody. And when you feel invisible, you just want to make everybody look at you. Could that have been the reason why he stabbed people? I think the demon took advantage of the way he felt, plus the music, plus the accident, plus the drugs, plus his mental state, and was able to do this, to harm other people and to kill a person. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to y'all next week. Be safe. Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform. A new episode of the Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on any of our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside podcast at gmail.com or click at the link below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to the demoninsidepodcast.transistor.fm. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time, if I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was created and written by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King. And the title song, The Demon Inside, was produced by Rice Fulber. Music and lyrics by Peter Shelley. And performed by Conjure One. All the content on this podcast is strictly the opinion of the content creator and not the organization, its affiliates, or employees.